Good morning, writers. I hope you're all doing well, and I hope that you have been writing as often as possible. You should all be finished your story, your first story about a small moment. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about what I mean by finished. Um, at least you should have a beginning, middle, and ending. And if you're not sure what I mean by that or the other things that I talk about, please go back and watch the earlier writing videos. They're all going to help you improve your writing. So hopefully you've all reached the end of your story. Now, just because you've reached it doesn't mean that it's finished. So you might be wondering, am I finished? The answer is probably not. You probably reached the end of your story, but there's a lot of work still to do. We have to edit, we have to improve it. Let me give you an example of what I mean. So here's a sample of somebody's writing. Now I want you to look here how much space there is from the edge of the paper to the letter B in the word but. And then look how much space there is from the edge of the paper to the letter D in the word down. And then look, and then look. This is sloppy writing. Okay, we're using nice paper, so we should be making our letters nice. Okay, in second grade, I don't think we should be putting 3 words on a line. So if you look at this line here, 3 words on that whole line, these letters are too big. It's very difficult to, it's kind of uncomfortable for me to read it. And if she keeps going this way, there's going to be just 1 word at the bottom of the page. So it's got to look clean. The letters have to be nice. Everything's got to be nice and even. Okay. Now look over at the right side. You can see, I'll see if I can do a better job of pointing to it. Over here, there's a box. Now that looks like it says bid, B-I-D. What the student meant to write was did, D-I-D. Now mixing up B's and D's is a pretty common thing. It's no problem if you have it on there, but you are definitely not finished your writing. If there are still mistakes like that, you have to go back and check everything very carefully. Then look a little bit below that. Now it's a little difficult to read, so I have it typed here on the right. It says, when it was time, the best science experiment was. Now this student forgot the rules of commas. When it was time, comma, the best science experiment was. So what you need to do is think about your daily edits. Think about the um, the other writing videos that I've given you, the videos where I introduced commas and quotation marks, and make sure you're following the rules that you've already learned. Okay? It doesn't have to be perfect, but you have to go back and check. I don't want you to reach the end of your story and say, okay, I'm finished, next story. Nope. We have to clean up as we go along. That's very important. Just like when I mow my lawn, I'm not finished when the grass is cut. I have to put the lawnmower away. I have to edge the grass. I have to put all of my tools away. You have to clean up. There's a lot of work involved. I have to dump the clippings, all the grass that's been cut into a trash bag. I have to put that trash can out so it can be picked up. All of that is part of the lawn cutting process. And checking your work is part of the writing process. Okay, let's move on. Now, I know I've shown you this before, and you all have it, and you should be keeping it in your yellow writing folder. And you should try to go through this checklist now to make sure you're doing everything you're supposed to do. You've got three options: not yet, starting to, and yes. Okay? And you read each part. The first one says, I wrote about one time when I did something. Okay, so I'm just going to say yes. So your story doesn't say anything like, I love going to the beach. The beach is my favorite because I can play with my friends. That's not one time. Okay, we're writing about one experience. Then the next one says, I thought about how to write a good beginning, and I chose a way to start my story. I chose the action, talk, or setting that would make a good beginning. So you have to be sure that you have a good opening. And we have a video about this from a few weeks ago. The next one says, I told the story in order using words such as when, then, after, and all of those other words that we talked about. Okay? Then you're going to read to make sure you have a good ending. Does it have an action, talk, or feeling that would make a good ending? If you answer not yet, that's okay, but that means you have to go back and work on that. The next line says organization. I wrote a lot of lines on a page and wrote across a lot of pages. So you should be making your stories long and detailed. Okay, you shouldn't have a story that's only 4 or 5 sentences. That's not really a story. Okay, and then this part down here, elaboration. I tried to bring my characters to life with details, talk, and actions. What this means is if there were other people in your story, did they say something? Did they do something? Did you give us any information about them? Maybe what they look like, maybe what they wore at that event that you went to, that special moment. Okay? The last part on this slide says craft. I chose strong words that would help my readers picture my story. Think of Al Moon, using colors, using words that describe the sound. Whatever you can do, use as many words as you know. Make your writing colorful and interesting so that I can understand what it felt like to be there. You don't want to say, I went to get air, we had pizza, it was yummy, I bounced around a lot. Oh, that's so boring. I went to get air on a very cold day. It was so fun to be inside because I got to run around in my socks. Then we had a hot, delicious pizza, and it came at just the right time because I was hungry. When the man brought it to the table, he opened the lid of the box and the steam came out, and I felt like it went right to my nose. And I wanted to bounce from the trampoline right into the middle of that pizza pie. Add as much information as you can. Then, spelling. It says here to spell a word, I used what I knew about spelling patterns. Now, we haven't learned a lot of the spelling patterns yet. That's okay. However, I don't want anybody to misspell trick words or words that we've already done. Okay, if it's a one word syllable like pick or kick, you should know to put a CK at the end. And then it says here, I spelled all of the word wall words correctly. Don't worry about the word wall. We don't have one right now. And then the last part, punctuation. I used quotation marks. I used apostrophes in words like can't and don't. Don't forget the periods and commas. It's it's not going to be a very good story if you don't use good punctuation and capital letters. Okay, so make sure you're following all of the rules that we talked about. Okay, and even if you do all that, we're still not finished because in the next video, We're going to just look at ways that we can enhance our writing. That means make it stronger, make it more powerful, make it more interesting. But you should be checking your writing. You should be writing every day, and you should be checking it every day. Did I do this correctly? Did I use capital letters? Do I have too many sentences? Does this look like daily edit 20, which just was one big sentence and it was really messy? Ask yourself questions and then answer them. Okay? It'll make your writing better. I promise. That's it for now. Don't stop writing and don't stop checking. The end.